today. His name is Mr. Franklin, and he's going to actually take you guys on, he's going to be handling the class for today. So Mr. Franklin, over to you.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Oh, it seems we lost Franklin. All right, so let's just hold on a bit. He'll be joining us soon.
Okay, so while we're waiting for him, yeah, if you have questions, please just drop. Or okay, I have some of the mentors on this call, so probably you might want to say one thing or two. I have Doye Wokoro on this call. I have Note Skill Nil Dev. Yes, my man, I have you on this call too. So Mr. Wokoro, is there something you would want to say to the learners, please?
Okay, yeah. Good morning, all. So
yeah.
From my end, I think thus far, learners they've been trying. I'm going to commend those of us that have been putting in the extra work to see that the assignments are being submitted early, right? Then concerning assignment submission for the web guys, I just have an observation. While I was going through the grading, I noticed most of us are CodeCamp, the emails that are linked there weren't verified, right? So that was posing a challenge to those that will be grading, since we don't have access to viewing your work in full page mode, right? And without that, we won't be able to really appreciate work that has been done thus far, right? The visuals and everything. We can be looking at your work in the app screen and all of that. So going forward, I want to encourage learners to ensure that their CodeCamp mails are being verified, so that it will allow mentors to properly view their work and grade them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Doye. NoSkill Dev, do you have anything to say?
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, good morning.
Can we all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
I have something to say about the learners that so I believe some of the learners do help themselves in completing their tasks. So I discovered a whole lot of them just give out their source codes and they end up doing the same things. So when I was grading, I discovered a whole lot of designs being the same. Like instead of you giving out the solution to your source code, you're not helping the person to learn. So it's best to just show them directions. Don't take them from that point A to point B. Don't just give them your source code. It's best to just give them directions on how to solve the problem, and that will help them learn as well. So that will be all.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, please do not give out your source code. You're not helping them. That's a very, very important one. So please let's just take note of that. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Doye. Thank you very much, NoSkill Dev. Okay, so Mr. Franklin, over to you. Yeah, Mr. Franklin.
Right. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So on today's web class, we'll be working on CSS Flexbox. So that's about that, and we are good. Okay. So this is what we'll be working on today. We'll be seeing how we can actually make a good use of Flexbox today. See how we can use Flexbox to build this template from top to bottom. Okay, so without much ado, let's just delve in. First of all, this is my project folder. This is where I'm working on. So I will open this with VS Code. All right. So I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so let us start. So first things first, I will create my boilerplate template. And I will call this, let's say, demo Flexbox tutorial. Okay, then link my CSS file. Okay, so we are good to go. All right, so first of all, let's take a look at what we'll be doing. So let's start. First thing we'll actually do is make a CSS reboot from our browser. So from style, I'm going to be using the general class selector. Okay, sorry. All right. All right, margin 0. The padding of 0. Box sizing of border box. Okay, so with this, I am done with the browser reboots for the CSS styles. So we could start. Now, the first thing to actually do is create a template for the body section using the main tag. Then the header. Okay, so first things first, let's create the content for the H1. All right, let's create this. Using the Emmet abbreviation, I'll be creating a CSS, HTML class of banner. Banner, I'll call this H1. Banner heading. All right, please, wherever you have issues, just send a message. And this is going to be about. This is going to be. a text, and I'll put some lorem ipsum text in it. Okay, so first things first, I will actually go to CSS and create a general style for body. Create a font family. Using Open Sans. Sans and then sans serif. I'm using a font size of 'the little line height of about 1.6. Okay, so that's that. Now, if we come back to our browsers, first of all, we have to notice something. There is a background image here. For those of us, for the beginners, the background image is actually a CSS property that's actually used to set an image in the background using CSS, not HTML this time. So first of all, that's what we'll be doing. So over to our code from our CSS file. We'll come to the header tag. Let's style that first. First of all, we'll actually give the header a height. So whatever we do is actually going to show. So first give it a width of 100%. And then let's give it the height of, say, 100 viewports height. That's going to help with responsiveness. Okay. Then we display flex. Okay, so let's also set background image. So this is how you use background image. Set background image in CSS. So do it this way. I navigate to the images folder and pick the image I want to use, which is banner. Sorry, before this, I already gotten all the images I need. So let's see if what we've done is actually working. Let's open with live server. All right, so guys, here we are. This is actually our template. So one of the goals of today's tutorial is actually going to be helping you guys see how you can actually design to specifications. What I mean is design to meet the mockup or the design you've been given. So one thing, as a web developer, you actually have to make sure your designs meet the standards of what you've been given. Okay, so from what we see here, we found that this header, it's actually a little bit bigger than 100%, or it's a little bit bigger than, the full screen of the browser, which we are seeing. So we increase the height a little, first of all. So let's say 120 like, and then we set the background repeat, no repeat, and background size set it to cover. Sorry, cover. Now let's see what we have. Okay, so this is our demo. Okay, so it's beginning to come into shape. All right. So next thing, we actually have to, since we've displayed flex, let's continue and make sure we set everything the way they are supposed to be. And to do that, using the flex, we use a flex property of flex direction. First, display as row, and then we justify contents. Justify content center, and we align items flex end. Now, using these, this is what we're actually going to get. You see that the text has actually been moved to the bottom, but we can't see everything because everything is actually black and white. So let's change the color of the text to white. We could do that from the header here and say color, change it to white. And this is what we get. Yeah. So the text is actually white. So we are done with styling the header. But before we go, let's give the header a little bit. Let's give the header a little padding. Let's give a padding of, let's say, 60 pixels. Just to make sure the content comes out the right way. Okay, good. So back to our HTML. We want to work on, we finished with the header. Let's go on with the banner. So we would say header, banner, and for the banner, let's see the content we have inside the banner. Okay, so inside the banner we have our H1 and we have the banner, which is the banner heading and the banner text. And from the design we are actually trying to replicate, you see that they are placed side by side. So let's try to do that. So the first way we're actually going to do that is to actually display flex for the banner. After displaying flex, we the flex direction property. Now the flex direction property, which I used at the header, which is actually used to display, or is actually used to tell in which direction in which they're supposed to move. So if you're using flex direction row, it actually places them side by side. There are other flex direction, you could say column. You place them, you say them up one under the other like this. Then there are others, there's column reverse, which you see here. So like actually going to reverse it and put the text under the heading. Okay, so I think that's that for now. But what we want to actually use is so flex direction row. That's what we're going to use. Now we found that there's a little bit of an issue. We haven't imported the first things first. Let's do that. So go to fonts.google.com. And since I already know the fonts we'll be using here, I'll just get them. It's Play Fair Display. That's the name of the font. So I'll just type it in. This is the font we'll be using. Play Fair Display. So I'll go ahead and get this. We are already used to this, so I'll just get. We'll be using the regular 400. Okay, so get this. And also add the 400 italics to it too. So combining these two styles, let's take this and we link it up now, HTML. Okay, so copying this and we link it up. Okay, so okay, so getting that down, then we set the width of the banner. If you come down here, if you come to templates we'll be using, we found that the width, it's not the full screen. It's not stretched down from end to end. There's actually some spacing in between. Now, you could use padding for this, but I prefer to set the width property. So I'll be using percentage for that. Set percentage to 80%. So because from the header, we've actually justified content center. So setting the width to 80% is actually going to center the text. So if you come down here and we look at it, we found that the text is actually in the center, although it's a bit shady. So we'll start with designing this. So let's start with designing the heading. So going back to our HTML, we'll work with the banner heading now. The banner heading, so we'll say banner heading. So first thing set the font family in which we'll be using for it, and the font family is going to be, we're going to use the Playfair display. So that's what we'll be using. So play which is a serif font. So we have to specify. And we'll be using a font size. Use the font size of 6 area. Let's see what it looks like. I also make a font style of italic. So let's see what we have. Okay, so this is what we have, and this is what. So from what we can see, it's beginning to take shape little by little. So let's give a little padding. Let's say let's give a little padding of 0 and 1.2 area to give some space from this text. Now that's about that. Then for the banner text, let's work on this. So we say the banner and then the banner text. Hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for the banner text, from what we see here, you see that it has a background of white and the text are a little bit small. So this is ours. So what we'll be doing first of all is to actually let's set the font size first. So setting the font size, we use a font size of let's say 1.2 area, and we say font style. Okay, sorry. Font style is going to be, sorry, not font style. What I meant was font weight. Font weight, I'll be using normal. Then setting the background of white, and I'll be giving it a little padding of let's say 30 pixels. So let's see what we have. Okay, it's beginning to take shape, but we have to change the color from white to black. So color to black. Now go back. All right, so let's compare and contrast. The font size is a little bit big, so let's change that. Let's use one area and see what we have. Okay, so comparing this, I think let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's give it 0.9 area. Okay, so this is a lot better. All right, so comparing this with the design we have, I think we did a pretty good job, but I think we need to give a little bit more spacing between this about and the text. So to do that, let's give some spacing. 1.2 to 1.6. And to, yeah, so yes, we are done with this. All right, so on to the next section. This is the next section. So let's see how we can actually structure this and get that done. So back to our HTML. We create a section. From this section, what we can see here, we begin to notice there's a kind of recurring pattern here. Compare this section with the previous one. We found that the text is actually centralized. The content of this section is centralized, and the content of this section too is also centralized using justify content. So there's something we could actually do. We could put these classes, we could put these styles in a separate class and then call them whenever we need them. So, for example, what do I mean? So from here, we found that this section is actually centralized. So we could put this justify content center in a separate class of its own. And then whenever we need it, we call it and it works for us. Because if you scroll down, you get to find that some sections too, like this is also centered, and this too is also centered too. So we could do that. So we're doing this because there's a principle in programming. You don't have to repeat yourself. Why I have to write one particular line of code over and over and over again when I could just write it once and then just apply it whenever I need it. So let's do that first. So if we are actually going to do that, I think first thing we'll do is to create a separate row. We'll put all of this in. So I'll call that class. I'll call that class a row class. So although this is going to change my HTML a bit, so you guys bear with me. Now, creating this row class, I could do a lot with this. So what do I do first? The first thing I will do first is creating the width of this row. So I could say, I could create the width. So for making it actually centralized like this, I could use the width of this 80% and apply it everywhere. Because if you look here, we found that the same line here is actually the same thing here. So let's do that. Do a width of 80%. And then all we just do is we just take this, everything here, and we put it here. All right, so in that case, we don't have to actually call this banner again. So we could change this from banner to row. So it makes it easier for us, and then this could actually go, and we won't need this banner anymore. So we take it off. So this is exactly what we have, and we could also do that here too. So first things first, we could say dot row, and we could put the text in which we want in this row. So looking at this, we see that this text here is also a heading and a paragraph beneath it. So let's say first things first, we come down back to our code and we create that. So I'll use a H6 for that. Let's just say H6, and let's use some lorem ipsum text there. So let's say and then coming down to the paragraph with a p tag, and also use some lorem ipsum there too. Yeah. So back to what we are actually designing. Let's over there, and this is what we have. Okay, so because we use flex direction of row, it actually starts side by side. But then there's actually a okay, so we've actually done this. Now let's create a class for this. We could call this class anything we actually want. So let's just call this let's see, a display. Let's say we call this, let's call this content a whatever. Let's say announce, or let's just say anon. So let's style this H6 class because we definitely need this style to target this class. So if you come down here and under this anon, now there is a flex property which we could use to set the width, and we use to set the width of a particular flexbox property. We use a flex grow for this. Now, when I say a flex grow is supposed to set the width of flex grow is actually supposed to set the width of a flex content. So let's say, for example, we have this class of row here, and this is a child. This is a child tag of this parent. This is a child element of this parent element. Now, to actually make sure that the child elements can actually take a full width of the parent element. What we do is we use the flex grow and we make it, you could say, flex grow of 1, and then let's say flex. There's also another one called flex shrink. Now, flex shrink is set to 0 and flex basis. So flex basis is more like the flex grow, but flex basis actually sets a basic width in which the flex grow is supposed to use. So for that, we'll actually use a 100%. You could use pixels here or whichever unit of measurement you prefer, but let's use 100% because we want the text to be like this, spanning the full width of this so that this other text comes down. So if we check that, yeah, this is what we have. Now, we also have to do the same for this guy. So if we come down here, before we go, let's give this guy a class and call this guy, say, anon section. The reason why we're doing this is because we want to make sure we centralize the text. So from the anon section, we could just say display, set display to, sorry, not inline, set display to flex, and we set justify content to center. Good. So that way we are able to align the text at the center. So then next thing we do is from the anon section we get the p tag. So from, just say anon section we get the paragraph and we style that. So getting the row, let's see. And let's see. Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, there seems to be a little bit of an issue. Now, I'm going to inspect element and actually show us this issue that I'm seeing. So let's all follow along. Now, we found that we use a flex direction of row here, and what flex direction of row here does is that it makes the text then go side by side. Now, what we want to achieve here is different. We need the text to be stacked one on top of the other, and we could actually do that. And for us to do that, we could actually change this from row to column. So let's watch and see what happens when we change this to column. We change this to column, we found that the texts are actually stacked on top of each other and this space between them. So we could actually, let's change that. So to work on this, we go back to our code and from this row, we could actually create another class and call this row column and just say row column and change this from row to column. Now using this, we'll come down here and change this from row to row column. All right, so I think if we do that, we are set and it's not going to give us any more hiccups, but yes. So using this, then for this part, we wouldn't necessarily need to set the flex grow anymore and flex spaces anymore because now all these are actually start to 100%. So we wouldn't necessarily need this anymore. The goal here is actually to make sure to see how we can make our lives easier with CSS. Okay, so back to styling this. First thing you actually notice is that there's a background color here and there's space in between them, so more like a padding. So the first thing we do is actually set the padding. So set the padding from here. Since there's already space on the sides, let's say from left to right, all we just have to do is set space from top to bottom. So doing that, we could use padding. Now we could use align items for this, but the reason why align items will not work here is because we have to, for align items to work, we have to set a specific height for this. And let's say, for example, we don't know how much content is actually going to be on this page. If we use a specific height for this now, and say the content is actually much bigger than the set height we are actually going to use, it could break the flow of the web page in which we are creating. So rather than doing that, let's use padding. So padding actually helps us to make it a little bit more responsive in the sense that with padding, no matter the amount of content, as long as there's no fixed height, then no matter how much content you put into this particular element, the element automatically resizes itself to fit that height to be able to contain the whole content. So setting the padding, now the padding we're actually going to set is going to be for the left, for the top and the bottom. Yes, for top and bottom. So it's going to be, let's say, we could give it a padding of, let's say, 40 pixels and give it 0 so that we don't get to set the left and the right anymore. So if we check this out from here, okay, let's see, the padding is still not okay. It's a little bit small compared to what we have here. So let's try and see if we could replicate that. So from 40 pixels, we'll actually increase it to let's say 70 pixels, and let's see what we have. Okay, it's almost there, but it's still not there yet. So let's see 100. Okay, this is good. So compare this to this, and I think it's just about that. Now, other thing I think we need to set is the background color of this element. So let's get the background color. Background color is actually a hex code of let's see. Let's set this. Let's say GC and set background color to E9. B1, B3. All right, so that's the background color used there. So if you check this out, find that, yep, this is the background color. Now we have to set the text color to white. So coming down here, you could easily see here color and set it to white. So I think it's beginning to take shape. Now, if you look at here, you find that in this heading, the first letter is very, very big. Let's start with that. But to do that, we have to go back to our HTML, and this is the first letter we use. So we create a tag. Let's use a span tag, and yeah, use a span tag for this, and from anon, as we're styling this, we start along. So now we call the font family. Font family is still the same font family we used here, which is this. And we come down here and we paste this. Now we begin to see also this same principle in which we talked about. We are repeating ourselves again. Now next, the repetition is actually coming from this font family. So we could do something. We could actually set a custom class to handle all fonts or this particular font. So that way, all we just have to do is just say, call the fonts while we're writing our HTML. That way, it's very easy. So we don't have to come and start setting the fonts all over and over again for each element, or we just call the custom fonts and then everything is handled for us. So I'll create a custom font class. I'll call this custom font. And I'll just paste this here. So by pasting this here, I am taking this off and also taking this off from here. So I think all that's just here to do is come here, copy this, and use it where it's supposed to be used. So going back to our HTML, the first one I'm actually going to use is this. Paste it here, and for this, paste it here. So doing it this way, it actually makes it easier for us to actually be fast with our project. So creating these custom classes for things we know we use repeatedly makes it easier for us to, work faster. So with this, I think the only thing I need to worry about now is setting the various font size. So let's see font size for this. We could use 1.6 RAM for this. Let's check this out and let's see if it's working the way we want it to work. And okay, yep, it is. All we could do is set the font style to italics. Yep, font style set to italics. So let's check. Let's do a comparison to this. Now, I think all we need to set now is this text, this letter, which is the first letter. We need to make it a lot bold, let's say a lot bigger than the other ones, because if we look at the demo we're using, this is a whole lot bigger than the rest. So let's do that. Let's see how we can actually achieve that. So to get that, we use the unknown class and span. So the font size, set font size to 6 Arial, make it very big. All right. Yep, and that works. So there's something we are noticing. After setting the font size, make it big, there's this huge space here. This is caused by line height. So remember, in our global settings, we made a line height of about 1.6. So because the font size is actually a lot bigger, it actually causes the line height to come down. So what we need to do here is reset that. So for this particular element, make sure that it has no line height. So it can actually follow the default one that is set to view the line height of 0. And if we check that, we see that it's back to normal here. And we're done with this. So coming back here, and we are looking at this, you see that there's a little bit of space between these guys, and this text is a whole lot smaller. So let's work on that. Let's make this space and make the text a whole lot smaller. So back to this guy. So we could say, give him a margin bottom. And okay, this is just for a reminder for the trainees. One thing I actually noticed when marking you guys was that you guys use a lot of break tags. Using break tags is actually nice for certain spaces, but as a point of correction, I'd say you guys should use margin and padding. It's better. It's usually easier setting space with margin and padding because it is a whole lot more flexible than using the break tag. Okay, so that's just to note that out to you guys. So I would use say 15 pixels of space, and yeah, this is just about the right amount we need. And let's see, let's set the text now for the paragraph. Let's go down here and set this. So first thing we need to change is the font size of the paragraph. Let's use 1, and let's see what we have. Okay, using 1 is not there yet, but let's work on this. We could go a lot lower, 0.3, 0.5 rem. Let's see how it goes. Okay, this is a whole lot smaller. Sorry about that. Let's see, 0.8. I think this should be just perfect. Yeah, this is just perfect. But now, there's actually something. If you look at this, found that there is actually half. So we could set the width of this particular element, this particular p tag, set the width to 50%. So we get that needed size or shape we're looking for. Okay, so this is it. Yeah. So with this, we are done with that. Now, scrolling to the next. Okay, sorry. Going down to the next. This is the next section. So I think this is going to be one of the how do I put it? Let me just say this is going to be one of the big moments of this particular tutorial class where we actually show you guys how to display content side by side, multiple contents actually. Display multiple contents side by side and how to not put space in between them. So let's actually do that. So we could create a new section. create a new section, and we could call this section and call it gallery. Now, inside the gallery, we will create a row. We'll be using the row. We'll be using row column, or so we could create a row, and we could multiply the row. Sorry, let's see, multiplied by 2 because we will be duplicating that. So yes, and okay, so we are almost doing that. So next, what we have to do is make sure we create different divs for this. And by doing that, so we could say, we could call these divs image containers. Let's see image, let's just say image container. Image container, and since there are 3 images per row, so that's why we multiplied the row. 3 images per row, another 3 images per row, so it's going to be easier for us to work with it. We will do this image container, and we multiply the image container by 3, and inside each of these image containers we put an image tag and give it a class of let's say gallery image. Okay, so doing that, this is what we get. Yes, voila. So the shortcuts I'm actually using is called image abbreviation. So guys, you can take notice of this. It's actually a very shorthand method of writing HTML, which will make it easier and faster for you. So doing that, let's try to get our images. So getting the images, we get the images from the image folder. From the images folder. So I could just type, let's see, I could use this. Sorry. I go down to images. And from this, I could say, I could get gallery 1. And then you have to remember semantics. So we just call this, let's say, picture of an African lady. Okay. Then for the next one, it would say the same thing, down to images, and we get gallery 2. Okay, so still the same thing, we just give it a different, we just say picture of a model. Okay, and I think the same thing for here. So images and gallery 3. Same thing. So picture, sorry, picture of a model. Okay, so we could actually use this picture of a model everywhere. Okay. If we go back and see what we have. Okay, so very, very big issue here. So the images are too big. Knowledge of making images responsive come into play. Okay, so we could target the section gallery. And targeting this section of gallery, come down here and do this. Repeat. Let's see. Style this gallery looking from this. Okay, so the gallery doesn't need much styling. I think what we need to focus on is the getting the gallery and then we could see this now. And for each particular image, since we already have the row is already displayed as flex, we can do this. Let's say display, let's say flex. Let's scroll and overflow hidden. And let's see what we have. Sorry. Now, this is what we have. We could give a height. We give a specific height to these containers. So let's say if you use 500 pixels, let's say image container, give it a height of 500 pixels. Oh, voila. Guys, I don't know if you guys noticed something, but if you see putting the image inside a div and actually trying to resize the div, the resizing of the div, and it's following it. I don't know if you guys can actually notice that. We'll actually use responsiveness with images. Now, you don't necessarily have to start setting the width and the height attributes in your image class. Sorry, in your image tag. If you notice, I didn't do width and height here. I just had to set everything from this image container. So from this flex group, I was able to give it a height of 500 pixels. And once you look at the images, you find out that they are able to, fit in fine inside these containers. Of course, I had to do something. I had to overflow hidden. Now, what this overflow does, this is what I did, which made the images, stay compact together inside this inside the image container. So what overflow does is that overflow checks an HTML element, and if it finds out that the content of the HTML element is actually longer than the width of that particular HTML element, it hides the content, the particular content that is actually overflowed. If that's the right word to use. Sorry, pardon my English. What it does is that it hides the excess content and shows only the one that's actually within the specified width of the image of the particular HTML element you're actually applying the class to. Okay, but then I'm also noticing something. Because we set our row to be 80%, this is actually, that's why we have this huge space here, okay? So we could actually do something here. We could override that class. So we could come here and we could say for the .gallery. Now, okay, I said we override that, but we could create a class. Create a class for this on our own, and we could call this. Sorry, guys, I'm creating so many classes. So we call this row 100, and I could still copy all of this and put it here. But the only thing I'm actually going to change is that I'll make the width 100%. So if I come here and say instead of row, I say row 100, and we come back to check. Okay, so this is what we get. Now, the elements, the HTML elements, the image containers are actually now able to span a width of 100%. Let me show you that. Let's say I come down here and I say for the image container, I put a border. I just want to show you where they are. Show the width. I say a border of say 1 pixel solid black. So you see what's here, and from what you see, you found that it ends here and it comes down here, ends here, and it's actually 100%. But now the image is not actually spanning the full width of this of the HTML image container, this which we just created, this image container here. So for us to do that, let's see. Okay, let me use another color. Let's say red, so it's more visible. So if you come down here and we look at this, yeah. So from here you can actually see. So this is where the first element ends, and this is where the second element ends, and this is where the third element ends. So it's found that the image is actually smaller than the full width of the HTML element, but we can actually fix that. So how do we actually do that? Let's come down, and now we actually want to work on the image itself. So we could do that by getting the class. So we could say gallery, and we could try to get the gallery image from here. So let's see. Let's just grab this class since it works on all of them. So and see dot gallery image, and we set the width to 100%, and that's all we have to do. If we go back and check, we see everything is the way it's supposed to be, and it's looking like this too. So well, I am actually listening to something. It's kind of stretched. Let's play with it a little. Let me see. Let me set the height. Let's set the height. Okay. Now it's actually a bit stretched, so I leave it at width. Okay, so for this, there's actually a little bit of difference. So since there's a little bit of difference, we found that the image is actually being stretched. And that's very bad. That's not good on the eyes. So we could actually do something. Now, instead of using an image tag like this, all we could actually do is create a special class where we input these images from our CSS. So let's do that. So I'd say gallery image. Let's say gallery image. And so I could just come here and say image 2 and image 3. So doing that, I will get rid of the image tag itself. Okay, sorry. I think I put the classes in the wrong element. Since I'll be getting rid of this, I could do this instead. Coming to the image container, sorry. This is where I have to put the class and okay, sorry about that. Let me just type this myself. So gallery image. We have one. So doing this, let's see, delete this and delete this and delete this. So we have gallery image 2 and gallery image 3. Now I'll show you the reason why I'm creating multiple classes like this for it, so it doesn't get to be a bore. So for the image container, let me take this away. Take this away. Now, what I will do is this. I create a background property for them because I want to put these images. I want to input these images using CSS. So first thing I'll actually do is make sure I don't repeat myself. So which means I have to use the parent class to do this. So background background repeats, no repeats, and background size. Set background size to cover. Okay, and I've also set background position to PG. I can set it to center. Okay. Now, what I do here is this. I could get this gallery image 1, and I could, let's make our life a lot more easier. So I could duplicate this. Let's see. So yep, so image 2 and image 3. So now this is where I'm actually going to be putting all the images, so from CSS. So to do that, I use the background image CSS property by typing BGI, and it brings up this class for me and navigate to the parent folder. And the parent folder, I go to images, and from images, I get gallery 1. Now, and let's see if it has actually been applied. And so, like you see, it's a lot more better like this than what we had before. So in that case, I'll just let's say I'll just duplicate this this here. And since we'll be having about 6 of these images, I could just go all out and create all of them. let's see. Yeah, okay. So I could change this to 4. Change this to 5. Change this to 6. So all I just have to do is come back here and duplicate this row. Okay, let's see. Just still do the abbreviation stuff if you prefer typing. Image container. Okay. Typing. Let's duplicate this. All right. So, and just change this to 4, 5, 6. Okay, so this is what we have. This is it. And if we want to take a look at this, it's almost like this. So the next section we have is the coming soon section. I think we still have a lot more to do. So after handling this coming soon section, I will leave the rest of this to you guys. So the trainees, you guys will be the ones to complete the remaining pages, all of this down to the end. So let me I'll just continue from here. And well, first of all, I noticed that the images are a little bit longer than what we have. So I could just use 450. And let's see that. Okay, it looks a whole lot better than what we have. So the next section, this is the next section. This is coming soon section. So what do we do? First things first, we go back to our code and create that new section. So creating that new section, we could call this section. Sorry. Section, and call this coming. Just say coming soon. And inside the coming soon section, since it's actually going to be a width of 100%, so we just say .row -100, and I think we good like that. So back to the demo, so we know what we're actually doing. So from this demo, we could actually see that the content is actually centralized, but it's actually a width of 100. So we could add this, and okay, let's just start creating the HTML. So this is actually a heading. So we create that. So we call this a coming soon heading, a coming soon paragraph, and a coming soon form. We call that. So let's go and do that. So we would say, let's use a H tree and call this, the class might be too long, but coming soon heading. And inside here, we just say coming soon. And underneath, we could call this a paragraph and say coming soon text. And coming soon text, we could actually put a little bit of Lorem Ipsum dummy text. So let's just say this, stop here. And beneath it, we could create a form and call this a coming soon form. Okay. We will be using the action. So I can take this off. Yep. So inside the form, what do we have? Inside the form, we have two inputs. First one being the name, enter email address, two inputs, and then a button. So let's do that. But first things first, we add a row because forms are actually stacked side by side. So add the row and say row of 100 since we want everything to be stacked side by side. So, and then an input, and we duplicate the input twice. And that's what we do. Okay, so let's try to organize this a little bit more. Okay, so before I actually create this input, I want to div of their own. So I'll call this div input container. Sorry for that. So I'll call this input container. So and inside the input container, that's where I have the input, and I'll give it a class and call it text input. All right, so doing that, this is what we have. So arranging it. Okay, so this is this, and let's see, you could just copy one of these for the button. And this is what we have. So I could use a button, and I could call this button let's just say form button. And give it a type. Give it type of submit. Okay, so doing this, yep, and let's see what it's called. So it's called get updates. So we could just say get updates. Right? Yep, that's it. So we are good to go. All right, so now back to our CSS. Let's style the okay. So let's see. Okay, first instance, I think I will take a pause here. So, guys, let me make this an open session. I think we've done a lot for now. I don't want to, put too much information out there. So you guys process it. In case you have any more questions, so please, you could ask your questions, okay? For those who have questions, you could ask your questions. Guys, so for those who have questions, you could ask your questions. Okay, you could indicate by raising your hand in case you have a question you want to ask.
Yeah, so if you have questions, please just raise your hand and then we'll attend to you. Okay, so someone is asking, please, how do we get every of the pictures? Can you help us with them on the resource channel? Okay, yeah, so Franklin.
Yeah, I could get all the resource, I could get the pictures for them and send it to them on the resource channel, yes. Okay, so any other questions?
Okay, Mendy, go ahead with your question.
Okay, using CSS Flex, I want to ask, it's completely responsive, right? Regardless of any device, as long as you can actually use it efficiently, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Okay, any other question? Mendy, you can take your hand down now.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
okay, someone has a question, so apologies. Ogaga Austin, go ahead with your question.
I want to ask about the one you use background position. If you move the center, is it going to have any effect on it? And what kind of effect is it going to have on it? The background position.
okay, so the background position center definitely has effects. So let me use a demo. Let me use this to show you what it does. So let's say, for example, I change the background position from center to left. And if we go back, let's see what happens to the images. But the images are a little bit squished. So what the background position does is this. Let me explain. It helps to actually position the image on the HTML element to make it the way we actually want it to look. So, unit measurements, like I could say 50%. And if I come back to check, find out that the images actually did move a little, although it's not as visible as it's supposed to be. But yes, background position actually works on the images. So I would say sometimes on some images, you could actually move those images because since we are actually displaying them using background image, and sometimes I want them to move at a particular level, so or to move to a particular point, you could actually use that to move. You could actually use that to move them to whichever point in the HTML elements you want to move them to. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I have an idea now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. I'm seeing someone here, group 2. Mr. Ike, I think you should help me get this guy.
Okay. So group. Okay. Hold on. Let me attend that. Okay. So he's saying so he noticed that once he pushed his work to GitHub, his page responsiveness gets altered, and the appearance and padding is not exactly what he has on his local.
So come again. He says once he pushes his
once he pushes his work to GitHub, his page responsiveness gets altered.
Okay, so that depends on when he says page responsiveness. I don't think we've actually covered how responsive design yet. So him saying his page is actually being altered in a way, he should actually explain further. Is it that he's actually using media queries to make them responsive, and when he pushes to Git, they don't get responsive? Or let him elaborate more on that question, so I could actually show guidance.
Okay, yeah. So you can elaborate more on the chat while we continue with the class. Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Franklin.
All right then. So continuing with what we have. Sorry guys, I will still come back to your questions, but for now, let me finish with this section. After I'm done with this section, then I will take all the remaining questions you have. Once I'm done with this coming soon section, I will take all your questions. The rest of the page will be given to you guys as a task to complete on your own. So I could just scroll down and show you guys what you have to do. You stop at this subscribe. This is where you stop. Everything other than that is obsolete. So from here down to subscribe is what you guys will be doing. So let me move up to coming soon and complete coming soon. And sorry, Miss Ogenetiga, I am seeing your hand up, but let me be done with this and you'll be the first person I respond to, okay? Or you could also drop your question in the chat too. All right, so back to the tutorial. So if we actually scroll down and look, we will find out that we've gotten our HTML all set up. And for the HTML, we can see everything is just in one line because we use display flex and we use a flex direction of row. So everything is just on one line. I think so we need to add more CSS to make this look good. So I think the first thing we have to do is that for this section, we have to give it a background color and we have to set a little padding because if we look, we could see that there's a padding up and there's a space up and there's a space below. So we could use padding for that. So let's start. Let's say first things first, we come down here and we get the coming soon. And we come down. Coming soon. So for coming soon, let's see. We first of all get the background color. And for the background color, this is background color we're using. So, and we have to give it a padding. Now the padding we're actually going to do is actually for the top and bottom. So we could actually give it a padding of like 40 pixels and 0 for beneath and we want to display. Okay, this is it. Let's see if it actually works out fine. So this is okay. All right, so I think we need to add more padding. So let's make it 50. All right, so making it 50 pixels. Come down here. For this row 100, I want us to take note of something. So we could see that everything is actually, on one line. We have to justify content center according to what we have here. See that all the text are actually on the center. So let's do that. Let's come down here and for coming soon. So we want to get coming soon, and we want to get the row 100, and we want to justify content center. Now we need that because the content is actually centralized. So getting that. So the next thing we do is come down to the heading and start styling the heading. So but before we do that, we notice that the heading actually has a different font, which is this custom font, as you can see. So what do? We remember we created a class for this custom font. So all we just do is just come down to where we have the custom font. If you could copy this if you want to, and come down here, and for the heading, we add the custom font to this, and be good. So let's style this heading now. Let's style the heading. Let's come down. So coming soon, and getting the coming soon heading. So if we use this, first things first, we want to make sure that all how do I put this? Sorry, let me go back so I could actually show you guys what I want to do. Now we want to style each element in the coming soon section. So yes, the coming soon section. So we want to start from the heading, the paragraph, and the form. And we could style them one by one if we want to, or the best way, we could actually make use of our class select of general selectors very well. So you could say coming soon and all elements inside the coming soon. So get this, and we could see get a flex grow of 1 and a flex shrink. There's actually a shorthand property for this, and which I will show you guys in a minute. So flex shrink of 0 and a flex basis of 100%. Now, doing this, we check and see what we have. Okay, I think there seems to be an issue with what we just did. So let's see how we can actually tackle that issue. The issue is actually coming up because of these general class selectors in which we did. So what we could do instead is actually getting the headings of all of them, the classes of all of them. So we get the coming soon heading, coming soon text, and coming soon form. So if we do this, I come down here and I get this. I copy and paste here, and I get everything. And paste, I paste. So we have coming soon heading, have coming soon text, and we have coming soon form. So the reason I'm changing it to this is because the first selector I used was the general selector, and what it was doing was that it was selecting each element. So both the history, the form, the history, the paragraph, the form, this div, this one, like anything that's actually an HTML element. That's what it was getting. And it was giving them a flex basis of 100%. But if I change this now, it's actually a whole lot different. So actually giving us a little bit of an issue. So let's see if we could debug this. So let's see. Scrolling down. Okay. Just for debugging purposes, let's see. Get order. Let's say on pixel. So in black. The reason I'm putting this is because I want to see where each element's length stops, so I know what's actually causing the issue. So this is where it stops. Yes, okay. All right. So I think I see what's causing the issue, and that's because I used the wrong class. Rather than using the row 100, I need to change. Let's see. I think I need to make a separate class for this row. Let's say a row column 100. And change the flex direction from row to column. So I wouldn't have to go through all this stress I'm going through now. Sorry guys. Yeah, so doing this now, I come down here and paste this. And if we come back to check, so it's actually okay, but I think the flex screw which I did in the CSS is what is actually making it this way. So I come back here and I take, let's see, I take this guy off and I check again. So found that it's actually a lot better. All right, so I think I still need to work on this a little more. Oh, sorry, I think I put this in the wrong class. So this is supposed to be flex 100. And this is supposed to be for year. This is where it's supposed to be, not. Okay, so I think now it should be totally settled. Yes, so it's settled, and coming back here, I need to adjust this. So coming to column. So change this to column now is actually going to centralize. It's not being centralized. So let's see why that is happening. Let me get the right class. Okay, so okay, soon. Yes, getting this. So okay, now let's continue. Sorry, content filter. All right, so let's continue. Now, for the heading, for the coming soon heading, I think the first thing we need to do is to align content, text align, center. Okay. And after that, we set the font size. Let's take a look at the demo so we know what font size to give it. Okay, let's say give it a font size of like 3 rem. And we go back and see what it looks like. Okay, it's actually coming up, but we need to increase it and make it like 4.5. Let's check. Okay. So the thing will leave it at 4, and the font style italics, and get all the text to white. So getting all the text to white, you could do it from here and say color white. And check that. Yeah, everything is white now. So coming soon. All right. So the next thing we actually have to do is set the text paragraph, and let's do that. So all we need is the coming soon text. Coming soon text. Okay, let's do this way. Okay, so okay, so let's continue. Let's set the font size. Set font size 1.3 rem. Let me take away this border. I think we don't need this border anymore. So 1.3, and we check it out. So we get, yeah. So okay. Yes. Now I think what we need to do now is make sure we center the form. Centering the form, this is what we do. Coming to the form. So coming to the form, let's do this. And if we look critically, we notice that the space between coming soon and this paragraph is less than the space between this paragraph and form. So it should be that either this guy has the paragraph has a margin bottom, or the form has a margin top that gives it this much space. So we could add the margin to the form, say margin top, and we put it at 10 pixels. So putting it at 10 pixels, let's see what we have. Okay, it comes down, but I think we still need more. So we could make this 30 pixels and see what we have. Okay, let's just leave it at 35. 35 pixels. And if you notice something, our form is still aligned to the left, while all the other text is actually aligned to the center. Now that's because the width of the form is actually spanning 100%. So if I show you guys using the border, let's see, using the border, let's see, border black on pixel. Sorry, black. Check it. See that the form is actually spanning the full 100%. So we could actually work on that. All we could do is we could adjust the width of the form. We'll give it a width of, see if I was 80%, and give it a bit of 80%. Yeah. And next, what we have to do is to make sure we justify it to the center, and let's do that. So to do that, let's go through our HTML once again, going to form, and the parent element of this is a row column 100. Okay, set this justify content center. Or we could also do this. We could say margin left, use auto, and I think that's that. So we get this border off. Okay, I think we still need to move this a little bit. So let's say change this to percent, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so let's see. 5%. All right, so this is actually trying to be stubborn. So let me work on this using CSS, using the inspect. So okay, this is not. If this isn't the cause, then okay. So all right, so what we need is 67%. So let's ahead and implement that. Yep, I think we are good. All right, so from the form, you can actually see that there's actually spacing between the form and there's actually spacing between each input element. So to get that, we need to get the coming soon form. So coming soon form and get the input container, since that's like a general class for everything, for the div which contains all of them. So that's input container, and we set a margin. Let's say margin. We could use a margin, we could use padding. So let's go margin. Let's go padding. Sorry. Padding, and we could say 0 to 15 pixels. And let's see what that gives us. Okay, so yes, it gives us space between them. All right, and okay. Okay, let's work on this now. Let's see. Sorry. I need to duplicate this class and make sure that everything is actually working fine. So the reason I'm duplicating this class is because I don't know if you guys noticed, but the form is actually trying to misbehave. So using the width is not actually going to make it as responsive as I want it to be, but it's actually going to make it derail from the flow of the web page. So now what I'm actually doing is I'm targeting the form itself and this class, this row 100, so that I can actually make each input element in it justify itself to center. And let's get this. Let's get this away. So okay, and I need to get the auto left of auto. Sorry. All right, so let's see what we have. So everything is set in the center now. So the next thing we have to do is style these input forms. So to actually do that, I have to display these guys as flex and also justify content to the center. All right, so doing that, this is what I have. Now, I think I forgot to add something to the HTML. I think I forgot to add placeholders, so let me do that. So for the inputs, for the first one, the type of text, the second one, it should be type of email, and this should have a placeholder. It should have a placeholder of name, and okay, so placeholder of name. and placeholder or enter a valid email address. So I think yeah, it is done. Now let's style the inputs. So going back to the CSS, I think I'll just be styling the inputs together. So I could get the input container, and I could get the, let me go back to the HTML. The class is called text inputs. Get it and come down here. And since the inputs and the buttons are actually styled the same way, so I'll also have to do that too. So I'm going to have to put a general style between both of them. So inputs container and getting the form button. Okay, so and this is what we have. So first things first, I will give them a padding. I'll give them a padding. Padding is going to be top to bottom. I'm actually going to give it like 30 pixels, 10 pixels. So let's see what we have. Okay, so top to bottom is actually very big. Let's see if that's how it is here. Okay, so we could actually use, let's work with 10. Let's see how it looks. Okay. Yeah, they look a lot more better. It looks a lot more better. And then what we want to do next is give them, remove the border. So say border. There are many ways we could remove border, but we could also use the onset property. Once you use the onset property, it actually nullifies the border. Yeah. And then we add a border radius. Border radius. If you use a border radius of 15 pixels, values of 15 pixels, and this is what we get. So let's work on this from the browser so you know what we actually want. So let's say, yeah, I could increase this to get to what I'm looking for. Yeah, so this is what I'm looking for. 19 pixels. So let's see, 20 pixels. So give it 20 pixels, and I think I want to reduce the padding here for the input container to 10 pixels to give more space for the inputs. So, okay, yeah, this is more like it. And let's see. Okay, I think I still need to give it more space. So for the padding, I could move the padding down to 5. All right, so this is more like what we need. And then what else? Yeah, I think a little bit more padding on the top. So let's give this 15. Let's see. Okay, not 15, more like 12. All right, so this is better. Okay, so I think we are done. think I've done with input. So what's just left is to style the button. So if we actually look at button, the button is different. It has a little bit of width. So let me style the button. Okay, so first things first, I'll give it a background color of black and a color of white. All right, so okay, so this is that, and you've gotten this. So guys, you will actually continue from here where I stopped, and you finish this. I'll leave these images on this template on the resource channel so that you guys could use the images and continue this. So I think that's going to be that for now.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Franklin. So if you have any questions, please just raise your hand and then, okay, so Mandy, go ahead with your question.
Yes, please. Also, can you leave the link to the original site, like the original page where we can be sure that we are doing the right thing?
Okay, yes, I'll also do that. I'll
Okay.
give you guys a screenshot of it.
Okay, so we're building from the scratch now, right?
No, you continue from where I stopped.
We just continue from where you stopped.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, Sophia.
Afternoon. Okay, so let me first ask, in continuing from where you stopped, does it mean that work would just be the last part, like the parts you have not done?
Okay, so let me clarify and make it easier. So to make it easier, why don't you guys just do it on your own from scratch, following what I've actually done? So the whole full web page on your own. So because I'm not going to be releasing the source code anytime soon. So I want you guys to actually try and do it on your own and see how far you were actually to understand the class better. So I'll be giving you guys a full screenshot of the page and all the resources to use for the page too.
Okay. Okay, so my question now is, for font size, usually I use pixels. I noticed you've been using REM. So what's the difference, please?
Okay, the difference is that REM is more responsive compared to pixels. Pixels is kind of static because when you go into responsive design, you get to find out that pixels doesn't actually respond to the size of the screen, but REM does. So whenever you use a smaller screen, or let me put it this way, whenever you try to open a website with your phone and you open it with your laptop, the font is always different. So REM actually is sensitive to the size of your screen. It actually works that way. It is more responsive than Pixel, although during responsive design, you still have to tweak it a little.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you, everyone. So for those who are in stage 2, please, most of the information that will be dropped is going to be on the stage 2 channel concerning your task, okay? So please watch out for information on the stage 2 channel, on the announcements channel also, okay? And if you're in stage 1 on this call, do well to finish up your bonus task, and if you're successful, you'll be moved to the stage 2. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, and have a wonderful day. Thank you, Mr. Franklin.
Thank you.
Wisdom, you're late comer. What's your question?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, before you told us that you were going to end the session, now I have the question. We that we are still in stage 1, how quickly do we get graded, and how quickly do we get promoted so we can just catch up to speed and do the task for stage 2?
Okay. Sorry, first line, how quickly do you do what?
How quickly are we to be graded? I being that the deadline for submission of our bonus task.
Okay, yes, the deadline for submission is 11:59. Grading has already commenced. So you'll be graded, and if you make up to 75%, and then you actually be, but grading has commenced. Okay, so just watch out for informations. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome.